Welcome to Hip Hop Forward, the number one place for lifelong learning in hip hop. I'm your MC, Dion Baker. Let's get it poppin'. Yesterday, I was online. In fact, I was on LinkedIn. And I saw an article that someone shared. And the article said, 20 things the rich do every day. So what do the rich do every day that the poor don't do? All right. And they had the list of 20 different things that the rich supposedly do, or the wealthy, as they say, throughout these facts that the wealthy do that the poor don't. All right. Now, this deserves commentary because I've seen this type of thing multiple times and we'll see it multiple times again. But it won't slide by this time, of course, without it being mentioned here on this podcast here. So let's mention some of these stats and let's talk about them. Let's mention a few. There's a list of 20, and we won't go through all 20, but we'll go through plenty, enough for you to get the point. Number one, it says 70% of wealthy eat less than 300 junk food calories per day. 97% of poor people eat more than 300 junk food calories per day. Therefore, the poor eat more junk food calories than the wealthy. 23% of the wealthy gamble. 52% of the poor people gamble. Fact number two. 80% of the wealthy are focused on accomplishing some single goal, while only 12% of the poor do this. 76% of the wealthy exercise aerobically 4 days a week. 23% of the poor do this. 63% of the wealthy listen to audiobooks during their commute to work, versus 5% for the poor people. 81% of the wealthy maintain a to-do list versus 19% for the poor. And let me give you just one more. 63% of the wealthy parents make their children read 2 or more nonfiction books a month versus 3% for the poor. Now we'll stop there. What some people do when they see this, they say, oh, that's what the wealthy do. And that's what the poor do. Let me do exactly what the wealthy do, and then I'll become wealthy. Well, only if it were that simple. The fact of the matter is, first and foremost, the general assumption about wealth and being poor is that it's all entirely financial. Like there's no credit given to anything a person has other than the money. You know, with this whole dichotomy between what the wealthy do and what the poor do. And some of these stats, for example, are just completely ridiculous. Let's say, for example, the last one I read. About 63% of wealthy parents make their children read 2 or more nonfiction books a month versus 3% for the poor. That may be a fact, right? Let's just call it, that's a fact. That doesn't mean it really represents some in-depth reality, but that's a fact. But let's question this fact. What does it mean for a parent to make their child read 2 or more nonfiction books a month? Is that within the academic setting, or is that outside of academic reading? Secondly, what does it mean for a parent to force their child to read anyway? Are you saying they're forcing their children to read and that the poor should make their children read more? Thirdly, what constitutes reading? A book. What constitutes reading? Another thing is, it only mentions the reading about nonfiction books. What about fiction books? So if the poor read more fiction books, would their stat be higher? You see, out of these same circles, you'll get quotes from people like Einstein talking with the cliche quotes from Einstein saying imagination is more important than knowledge, as if to give credence to the imaginary aspects of the mind and the fiction, if you want to call it exploration of mental consciousness, over, as being even primordial and more important over the attainment of facts, right? That's what the Einstein quote says. So you'll see that thing come out of these same circles, and at the same time, they'll flip a quote like this. They'll flip the statistic about how wealthy parents make their children read more nonfiction books than the poor do, as if the nonfiction book for some reason has more credence over the other one, as if there's no value in a fiction book. Complete BS. This other one I mentioned, for example, about the 80% of the wealthy are focused on accomplishing some single goal, while only 12% of the poor do this. What does that mean? Like, what are the context of a statistic like that to where you can ask somebody, hey, are you focused on accomplishing a single goal right now? What is that? That's so vague. What does that mean? To be focused on accomplishing a single goal, to classify a group of people, the wealthy, as accomplishing a single goal versus the poor who don't do this. What does that mean? Now let's back up a little bit. Instead of focus on these individual facts, let's look at these overall points. What does it mean to be wealthy? You got to qualify that. And this goes the same for you too, out there listening. What does it mean to be wealthy and what does it mean to be poor for you? Is it purely financial? Is it entirely based upon money? What does it actually mean for you to be wealthy? And then we'll go back and we'll see these articles floating out about what the wealthy do versus what the poor, as if the people who have money or have some sort of intrinsic characteristic about them that people who don't have money lack. As if there's something flowing in their veins that's different than what's flowing in the other people's veins. And this dichotomy is false. It's a complete false dichotomy. Characteristically speaking, to say this is what people who have money, this is how they behave, versus this is how people who don't have money behave. This is who the wealthy are. This is who the poor are. This is what the poor do. Beware of these black and white dichotomies that are fed to you, because they feed into this philosophy, this group politics, this football politics, as I call it, that creates a team A and a team B, to where they become this competitive match, that you have to choose a side. So whose team are you going to vote for? Whose jersey are you going to wear? Are you going to wear the jersey of the wealthy? Or are you going to wear the jersey of the poor? You're going to wear the jersey of those who have money or those who don't? It's disgusting. It's disgusting. Beware of the dichotomies and the philosophies that are fed to you. Make sure they align with what you're about. Make sure they align with your values, your personal ethics. And first and foremost, master your center, MC your life, to make sure that you establish what you're about. And then when you step into articles like this, you can see it with a clearer viewpoint and perhaps discern some of the things they're trying to feed to you to create a false dichotomy within your world, so that you can wage some sort of competitive politics on another group of people, and in the meantime be fighting one of their wars and not even be truly fighting yours, because you're choosing a side in dichotomy that was completely falsely created by them being these purveyors of the ideas, purveyors of these ideologies. Beware of the philosophies you accept, beware of the food you feed your mind, and beware of whatever is placed on your plate to be consumed by your mental mouth. And make sure you're critical of it. Make sure you critique it. Make sure you know what that diet consists of. So therefore, when you do encounter it, you can see right through it and really know what's junk food and what's not.